real business owners.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 38. Guys, this is brought to you by Easier Accounting. We are a nationwide accounting firm. If you have bookkeeping questions, entity formation questions, or tax prep questions, make sure that you reach out to us. Per usual, it's myself, Trevor Cowley, my main man, Kale, with us. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm trying to hang in here. So bear with me. But guys, we have a cool guest for you today. His name's Kaden Terry. Kaden, welcome to the podcast, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
So I'll give you guys just a quick background here. He's 17 years old, just a young hustler out in the world, but he's done some cool things. We respect individuals like yourself, especially at your age, that's already kind of infatuated with success, right? Or, the process of success or what it takes to be successful. And so Kaden has his own podcast called Psychology of Success. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So he's a local guy here, and he reached out. He reached out to you, or reached out to?
He reached out to me through Kaden. They've played baseball together, and in fact, that's what I was going to say. Thanks for having us on your podcast. This is kind of a hybrid that we're doing.
Yeah.
He reached out, asked if I'd be on his podcast. I said, of course, man. And then he said, and then maybe I can interview your partner as well. And I was like, maybe we'll all just do one together.
Yeah. So this is going to be a hybrid where he's going to ask us some questions. We'll ask him some questions.
Yeah.
We're going to utilize it for our episode 38. Then he's going to utilize it for whatever episode that he wants to utilize it for his podcast as well. But just to start off, I want you to tell him, one, you're a junior in high school, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so you've got that going for you. Stay in high school as long as you can. I'll tell you, all you kids can't wait to get out of school to go start life. But yeah, enjoy it, dude. Don't take that for granted. I would love to be back in high school right now. But he's doing some cool things. One, you've got the podcast. You said earlier when we were talking that you started a detail business and you sold your detail business to a college student. And then what else is it that you manage Airbnbs or something like that?
Yeah, so I have an Airbnb management company called KST Rentals.
Okay.
And then I also buy and sell cars on the side.
Okay.
That's cool, man.
So, so you've got a junior in high school, 17 years old, already out there doing several things to advance his financial situation, right? And so if you guys are out there, hurting financially, we don't really feel that bad for you, just to be quite honest with you, because there's a lot of shit that you could do if you really, really, really want it.
That's why I thought it'd be cool to have him come in and do a hybrid show, man, because I know there's, a lot of people that follow us and listen to us they're aspiring to be business owners or they are business owners, and everybody just needs to realize that, dude, there's kids, that are 17 years old, juniors in high school that are already, pushing through things to create their success, and I think that's really cool. I think that people should let that soak in, like
his hustle muscle is much bigger than most, right?
It is.
I'm
impressed.
I would say probably far bigger than most your age, for sure. And I would say probably bigger than most people just in general, that you're just continuing to look for opportunities, right? Like how else can I, turn this $1 into $2, or how,
Exactly.
What more can I do in order to advance my situation? A lot of people are poor me, or they want to look at their situation and feel bad for themselves rather than actually doing something for themselves. What I like about you is you're actually out there doing shit. My guess is you probably didn't have a whole ton of help, and you're just out there kind of trying to figure this shit out on the fly. And you probably made a lot of mistakes, while you were flipping. Maybe you didn't make money on this car, or you had to put,
It's happened plenty of times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, one, how you got into flipping cars, how you got into the Airbnb thing, how you already started a detail business and sold it. Kind of, when did the entrepreneurship bug bite you, I guess? Maybe that's the first question.
Well, a lot of times we start our podcast with, tell us a little bit about your childhood, but you're still in it, man.
Yeah. Tell us.
I want to know what motivates you at this young of an age,
Yeah. So it kind of all started when I was younger. I remember when I was 12, I was playing Little League Baseball. And there was this trend where everyone had these little baseball necklaces.
Yeah.
I remember your
I bought plenty of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember, I thought, man, I could sell these to kids, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went online and found this Chinese website selling them for like $5, and I just bought them in bulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd go to these Little League games every single day. The days that I wouldn't play, I got permission from the Little League president.
Yeah.
And I started selling them. And so that was kind of my first
Did they want
experience.
to cut?
I don't remember.
Did they ask for a percentage?
In my head. I don't think he did.
No? He was just like, okay, the young hustler out here trying to make money. Sure, kid, go out there and try to do it.
Yeah, so I just made like a quick $200 in a couple weeks, and that was my first experience with entrepreneurship. And then I've done little things like that.
Did you pay taxes on it, dude?
No.
It's all good, dude.
I'm just kidding.
Fly under the radar.
Probably should, but
no, you're
not
good.
that young.
You're good, man. Hey, we all had our childhood hustles we didn't pay no taxes on.
Nobody paid taxes on childhood hustles.
They can't go back that far on us anyway.
Exactly. So, no, that's cool. So at 12 years old, you started hustling. It's just weird that, at that young of an age, you were already, again, watching a pattern happen and then found an opportunity within the pattern was that kids started buying these. So that means if kids buy it, that means more kids want it because they don't want to be the one that's left out.
Exactly.
Right? If all my boys got necklaces or all the girls got this type of bracelet, then again, people do things in groups, right? And so if the cool kids are doing it, then other people are going to want to try to catch on and do it.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy that you were smart enough to, be on the outside of it, kind of looking in saying, holy shit, there's an opportunity to make money here. And then you took that thought, went to the internet and said, how can I get this shit for as cheap as I possibly can? And then flip it to make as much as I possibly can. Then you went to somebody else, asked for permission to go sell it on their you see all the steps that you had to take in order just to make $200. Most people aren't willing to even go that far or do anything like that. But the reality is, dude, you'll be scary by the time that you're our age, by the time that you're 35. What are your goals? I guess that's a good question.
He's already had bigger guests on his podcast than us, maybe.
No
shit.
Shit.
I was impressed some of the guys he's interviewed already. So
what are your ultimate goals? I mean, obviously you like entrepreneurship, you like business and success, and you've got your own podcast going. Like, do you have like things written down that you want to accomplish? So what are some of the things that you're trying to accomplish?
So I have a whiteboard in my room, and I've written up my goals for 2020.
Yeah.
And I have a vision board for kind of more long-term things that I want. And I have written different aspirations and my life mission statement.
Okay.
And I'll just go over some short-term goals just for this year until I graduate high school. I want to, of course, graduate, but I want to have $100,000 by the time I graduate. And I want to be able to use that money to be able to serve other people by the time I'm out of high school. I want to go on a mission. And when I get back, I haven't decided 100% on college yet. Yeah. But I want to do college, keep going on with entrepreneurship, start different companies. I want to have 5 different Airbnbs that I manage. I want to get into real estate, flip real estate, things like that.
You already working on your credit? Do you have a credit score yet? Or do you have your parents putting you on credit cards or anything like that?
I was talking to my dad about that the other day. Can you get one before you're 18?
I added Kaden as an authorized user on my credit card, and it gives him my history, right? So he doesn't know his credit score right now. He doesn't even know. Well, he knows I did it because I gave it to him when he went off to college, and I was like, "Hey, man," and this Kaden, my son, Kaden. It's kind of weird because you're both Kaden.
Yeah. The listeners may be confused, when you say Kaden and then Kaden.
Right. Yeah. So he doesn't know his credit score. He's never pulled it, but I gave him a credit card. I'm like, hey, just use this in case of emergencies. You're an authorized user on it. But if I went and pulled his credit, he's probably, I don't know. Probably in the 6s at least, Yeah,
650, 700. I mean, if it's a card that has low debt to credit ratio and it's been paid on time, he probably has 700 credit score.
Definitely.
He just doesn't have a lot of credit depth, right? Is the issue there? But like if your parents have good credit, they can call Capital One or whatever their credit cards are, and they can say, I want to add so and so as an authorized user. They don't even have to give you a card, but you then get grandfathered into the history of that credit card. So you could be, 17 years old, but look like that you have 8 years of credit history added on as that authorized user if that credit card is 8 years old.
I did not know that.
I just actually had a talk with Kaden about credit the other day. I'm like, Kaden, you got to understand, like, credit is so important, because a lot of people use it to get themselves into negative situations. Obviously, we see it day in and day out. In fact, majority of people do that. So I had a good talk with him on, like, dude, it's a tool. It's something that you can really utilize as leverage, right? Like you went and flipped little, necklaces to start, and then you moved up to cars, and you can utilize obviously other people's money to get, awesome. Obviously product and inventory and flip it, and you be responsible with it. It's a huge tool.
Well, that's why I was asking his goals to flip houses or get into real estate.
Yeah, you're gonna want to have good credit.
You're gonna want to have good credit for that. So that's why I was asking if what are you doing on the credit side of things to prepare yourself for something like that in the next 2-3 years after you get done serving a mission or whatever it is, right? By the time you're 21, you can now have 3, 4, 5 years of credit history before you start flipping, right? But that brings up another good point. A lot of you guys that are listening should have conversations with your kids about credit, right? And you should maybe if you do have good credit, put your kids as an authorized user on some of your accounts to help them build or establish some credit. I talked to my daughter last night because we gave her like a little credit card thing, but it's for kids, and you can load what you want on it. So if she needs $5 for school lunch, we go on the app and you just add $5 to her card, and it's something like I'm just teaching her how to manage that. And she's like, I think it's like a credit card. I said, no, it's more like a debit card. And she asked, what's the difference between a credit and a debit card? Right, so we sat down last night. That was funny that you were saying that, and I explained to her, she's 10 years old, what the difference of a debit card is versus a credit card. And credit is what we utilize to buy houses and cars and things like that, because not a lot of people have that full amount of money to buy a house. So they pull a credit report, and kind of broke it down to her at a 10-year-old level for her to try to understand that. But that it's good to have you on where we're kind of educating you a little bit, because there's listeners now that might not have ever thought about that have 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds or 17 years old.
As parent, we learn stuff the hard way, and then we want to teach our kids so they don't have to go through that. I mean, it just is what it is. And I know your dad's a hustler, man, because like I was telling you off camera podcast, I remember your dad just hustling that whole neighborhood, man. I was 18. I owned my first home.
Hustling what? What was he doing?
Real estate. He was a real estate agent. Dude, he had that entire neighborhood on lock, man. Like I remember him walking door to door. His sign was in like every front yard, and
he owned the neighborhood.
He was crushing it. So I'm sure your dad has plenty of
influence
stuff he shares with you. Was your dad one of like your motivations for like wanting to pursue even your very first venture of making your own money?
Oh yeah, like he's the one that's gotten me into entrepreneurship, and I'm grateful for that. Like, I remember the mobile detailing business that you mentioned. He loaned my brother and I $300 because he saw an opportunity. He's like, because at the time he owned a repo company.
Okay.
He was a part owner. And so they'd get all these repos coming in, and they just run them to Fabulous Freddy's. So he thought, okay, why don't we just have Kaden and Kyler, my brother, detail. And so he put up the money for us. He loaned us $300 to buy all the products and everything. And from there, we paid him back, and we were in business for about 2 years just out of our garage. And we actually bought a mobile detailing trailer, set it up, and because we were going to hire someone to go around and do it because we had school, so we wanted just to keep it rolling.
Yeah.
But we figured, and at the time, I couldn't even drive. I was 15.
Yeah.
And we figured, we ran the numbers and stuff, and we were like, this isn't going to work. It's a lot of management hiring someone, especially.
Well, at 15 years old to hire an employee, then you gotta put them on payroll. Then you gotta figure out all this whole tax game, right?
Exactly.
When you're young, you can kind of fly under the radar with a hustle, wash somebody's car, and take a check or take cash or whatever. But by the time you talking about hiring somebody because you're in school, it starts getting a little hairy.
Yeah.
Because then you're having to get workman's comp stuff. You're gonna have to set up an entity or that, and again, at 15 years old, that can be daunting. So you ran that for 2 years?
Yeah, so we ran it for 2 years just out of our garage.
Okay.
And then we got the trailer all set up because we were, like I said, getting ready to hire someone.
To scale your business.
Yeah. And then we decided not to.
Yeah.
And they were like, at that point, we were starting to flip cars.
Yeah.
Just about maybe 1 to 2 or 3 a year, because that's how many you can do, like according to the law. Like you can't do more than that personally.
Or you're considered a auto dealer at that point, right? And you'd have to then get a license in order to flip more than that.
So we decided, you know what, let's sell this for. It was completely set up. It was the whole gig, a whole mobile detailing business. Yeah. So we put it on KSL and Craigslist and sold it to a college kid here at Dixie State, actually. Okay. And so that's gone. And then I reinvested that money into just buying and selling cars. And then my dad, just about 6 months ago, opened a car dealership. So now I'm able to utilize his dealer's license to go out and buy cars.
Cool. That's awesome, man. Yeah. That's cool that your dad does that with you guys too, man. Because I wish I had done more of that with my kids. To be quite honest with you,
it's probably a headache.
I do try and teach them a lot of stuff, but
it takes time. Like it does to take time away from what you're focused on to try to teach your kids this, that, the other, and kind of guide them and help them. Bless his heart. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite excuses was
good human being to do something like that, even if it is your own children. In some cases, by the time we get off of work or whatever, we're exhausted. Last thing we want to do is sit
my kids were always in baseball. Yeah. They're always in club ball. They're always in these things. And it's just kind of like, they don't have time for that right now. But here's a kid in baseball, still doing it. He's got his hustle, and his dad's taking the time to help him with all of it. So I think that's cool, man. Props to your pops for that.
It's guys like this that squash excuses or make other people's excuses look stupid. You know what I mean? Because if somebody has an excuse, but then there's somebody else at a younger age that has a lot of shit going on, whether it's school, baseball, homework, all of that stuff, but then you're able to still kind of seek opportunity inside of all the stuff that you have going on. So, that's one of the reasons why we agreed to speak with you, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why a lot of people agree to speak with you on your podcast. This guy's had the individual that sold RC Willie to Warren Buffett on his podcast before. That's what Kale's talking about when he's had probably bigger guests on his podcast.
Bigger net worth,
Yeah, net worth. What I mean by that. Yeah, exactly. And so, you guys, the idea behind this podcast is to show individuals that you're never too old to start something. You're never too young to start something. There's no excuses that could be made in order to make that extra $500 a month or that extra $1,000 a month, because you have to start somewhere. I think the problem is a lot of people want to create an opportunity that's going to change their life, right? And then they overthink it, like, what? I don't want to do that. That's only going to make me $1,000 a month. That's not life-changing money, right? But you have to start there. You have to start just doing something, and then you see a different opportunity. Like, I started with mobile detail. You started with necklaces. And then that necklaces that made you then you went to mobile detail. Then that led you to something different, flipping cars. So the idea is to put yourself in a situation, even if it is only 500 or 1,000, again, at least be moving, at least be doing something, because that something might lead to something else, then leads to something else. Yep. I mean, how many times have we started a business and then we've made connections and contacts? Maybe that business didn't work, but we took some of those contacts or connections or some of the things that we did with inside of that business, and it rerouted us to maybe a different business venture that we went down.
We still do it.
Correct. That's what I'm saying, right? And so I think a lot of people are trying to think too big, like, what can make me like 10 grand a month? I want to make 100 grand a year off of my business, and therefore it paralyzes them to the point where they never start, because you're not going to ever find anything that's just going to make you 10 grand a month just like that when you start a business. It just doesn't work like that, And so the premise is just to get started, just to start doing. And then when you're doing, you actually start seeing other opportunities, because you're in the mind state or the mindset of wanting more, right? And so you started here and you're like, what else can I do? Because you're starting to taste it a little bit. That's all people need to do, is just start. And then when they taste it, and the first thing that you do probably won't be the thing that you do forever. That's just the first step. That's the stepping stone to get you going down the path of entrepreneurship. Then it'll reroute you to something else.
A lot of people let fear hold them back, and I assume being such a young kid, asking people to be on your podcast or, starting these business ventures, like there's obviously always some fear involved. And so, people say all the time, be fearless in business, but that's impossible. There's always fear there. The successful just learn to push through the fear. And so, have you come across some scary moments already that you just had to push through that ended up being a pretty cool result for you?
Or at least lesson, I guess.
Yeah.
Because in some cases, the result is just a lesson based upon losing money. But you learn a good, valuable lesson that you can then take to where you don't make that mistake again, and then you end up making money. Does that make sense?
I'd say cars is a big one. Like, I remember I had a Sonata, and I bought it at the auction. And you kind of take a gamble when you buy cars from the auction.
Hoping that it's good.
Because you just look at it online and see all the info. And so it looks like a good car from the outside. So I bought it. And when I got it, it was great. It was running great. And then I sold it to a guy. And the engine caught on fire. So it blew up. The engine blew up while he was driving.
That's not good.
Yeah. And so...
How soon after when you sold it to him?
I think it was about... a week or 2 weeks.
God,
yeah,
so super quick.
Yeah,
you sold his ass a lemon, dude.
Yeah,
yeah. But you didn't know it was going to be a lemon. I mean, nobody knows. You're not a mechanic. You're
exactly
flipping cars.
But like, I still have my mechanic look at things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was a while ago. It was like a year or two. I don't remember the exact details, but then I remember the warranty. We found out about a warranty, and so we took it back to the dealership here in town, the Hyundai dealership or whatever, and they replaced the whole engine.
Oh, good. So that guy was happy.
Exactly.
And did you buy another car? Yeah. But so you still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, I've had plenty of experiences like that. Yeah. Like, you still have to go after it. Like, it doesn't matter if you failed. You just learn from it and you move on. You take the loss and you keep going.
Yeah. Nothing's going to be perfect, right? Like, the reality is entrepreneurship is full of problems. And that's just a perfect example of it, right? Like, you have good intentions going in, and you want to make a couple bucks. You want to sell. You're hoping to sell a good car. The last thing you want is to have somebody be upset. But in some cases, you're going to have upset customers. How you handle those situations will determine, how successful you'll ultimately be. You found a solution for that individual. You worked with them, and you made it right. And that's really the idea of entrepreneurship, because unfortunately, you can't satisfy 100% of people. There's going to be unforeseen issues that you can't even control or that we can't even control. Just as the business owner, it's our job just to create solutions, right? Not focus on the problem. The problem is the problem is the problem.
It'll always be there.
Yeah, they'll always be there. The person who can create the solutions the fastest usually ends up making the most money, right? And has the most happy clients or customers. So, what questions do you have for us, bro?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, hey, let's
I feel like we're hounding you, and
no, I love sharing my story.
It's a great story. I love it.
It is.
So I've been looking at your Instagram. So you guys had your Instagram before the podcast, right?
Yep.
And you started growing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what have you guys done to grow that, and why did you decide to start a podcast along with that?
You know what, man? So like I told you a little bit ago, we're part of a lot of groups, and we had gotten to a point in business where we wanted to take our experience and give to other people, and a big inspiration for that was actually Gary Vee, because we'd gotten to know kind of his family and some people and done some business with them, and we went to one of his events, and Gary was like, I'm telling you guys right now, like, get a videographer, start documenting your journey, because it's going to help other people. It's going to inspire other people. And we're like, dude, let's do that, right? And then you obviously get results from it too. It's just a win-win-win all the way around. And so first we did that. We got the Instagram going, and we fell on our face a lot, man. And we went through a couple videographers, and we got luckily Austin, and we saw some traction just from putting it out there. And so we thought, well, and we went to another event. It was kind of like, well, why start a podcast? It's a power move, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, why haven't we done a podcast? Yeah. We've had people in our following literally ask us for it. So we're like, let's just start a podcast. We came home from that trip, a totally separate event from Gary Vee's event. And we literally got with Austin. We're like, dude, we're going to buy podcast equipment, help us pick the right stuff, you know? And so Austin took our credit card and ordered us up some good podcast equipment. And, you know, we went through some things. We started with easier accounting, and then Trev was like, dude, let's call it something different. We came up with real business owners. He had a few that he came up with. I'm like, dude, if real business owners is available, like, let's go with that. Like, that's just a good name, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and dude, honestly, we weren't afraid to throw some money at it either. You know, a lot of people are afraid to take a little bit of profits and reinvest back into putting their message out there. We're not trying to sell them anything. We're not trying to sell anybody anything. We're just trying to get our message in front of people so that the right people that it resonates with follow us. And then we can continue to help them. We continue to help them. They're going to continue. We're going to be the guys they look to when they want something more, like accounting, right? Or credit repair, or whatever one of the businesses that we own.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's kind of come full circle.
It's just basically just give, right? You said that you want to save money to do what? To serve other people, right? And when you have that intent, good things just happen. That's just the way it is. The problem is most people go into something, what can I get out of it? Rather than how can I serve other people, right? You know, when we originally started the Instagram account, it was within 3 months or so, we continued to get message after message saying, do you guys have a YouTube channel? Do you guys have a podcast? Do you have this? Then we did go to that event, and they talked about how easy it is to start a podcast if you just download the Anchor app, and then you can do this. Yeah. It's like a lot of people overcomplicate it. Like, how do you start a podcast? You know, that's just because they're not really looking into how to do it. They're just assuming that it must be like a big production or it must be difficult, right? And, you know, I didn't think it would be as easy as it is utilizing Anchor, because they get obviously that podcast out to iTunes and Spotify and all those places. But after we had enough DMs, and then we went to that event and they said how easy it was, you know, we just kind of looked at each other and said, you know, the people have spoke, so to speak, right? Like, they want more information because all we were doing is short 60-second clips or motivational quotes or whatever, and so they wanted more. And so then we just kind of said, it's time to do the podcast. And so the Instagram account has been the what's the right word?
Kind of the engine.
The catalyst.
Right.
Yeah, the engine to basically get listeners, or the catalyst to get listeners to the podcast.
Okay.
You know, so you were talking earlier, how do I grow my podcast? The reality is again, I'm not a podcast expert, so, you know, again, I'm not going to try to act like it. I can tell you, based upon our experience, what we've done, we got attention somewhere else. And then we redirected that attention where we wanted to redirect that attention, which was to the podcast. So if people are following us on Real Business Owners on Instagram, they look at the Instagram stories. It's daily that I usually, you know, try to screenshot somebody sending something saying, hey, your podcast is great. Or I try to kind of keep the stories here and there, at least daily or every other day, something about the podcast, which piques their interest. And then they say, well, maybe I need to go check it out. Right. And so that's really, we've got all the attention on Instagram, and then we redirect it to the podcast.
If I were you, I would give some tips, and not that I'm a huge expert either, but dude, like, we are experts in areas, and that's why people follow us, because we have experience. You already have experience that a lot of kids don't have in high school, right? So I would start a page called High School Hustlers or something like that, right? I would post up video clips of like my podcast that I did with the Real Business Owners, or the guy that sold RC Willie, or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I would post clips up like that, and then I would take a look. See, dude, you got things that you're making money with. I would take $10, $15, $20, you know, put your message out there and attract the kids that are in high school that want to be hustlers like you. Yeah. They'll start reaching out to you. They'll start being like, dude, you know, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? Get on TikTok, get on Instagram, tell them, dude, go listen to my podcast. I mean, there's all kinds of these tips right there, man. Like, you know what I mean? And dude, it will turn into other opportunities for you as well. But I would take a little bit of money and get your message out there, because my guess is that there are a ton of kids in high school that want hustles like you're doing, right? But they don't know where to start, and you already have experience on how to do it because you were willing to just do it, right? And so a lot of people will look to you, man. Now, what happens is when you're done with high school, maybe you get into college, maybe you go to start your... Dude, these guys... They're all in high school with you. So they're going to follow you all the way through their life. A lot of them will. Some of them you're going to lose because, maybe they drop off or, they go join corporate America or they don't, aspire to be business owners anymore. But a lot of your following that you build now is like your base, man. Like you're going to be able to provide things to them and make money off of them for years and years and years to come because you were willing to do that. So that would probably be some of my tips, man, is like start something right now that's going to attract people that need your expertise in something, right? Like we talk about, dude, our failures in business and how to run our call centers and how to, start our credit repair business, our accounting business. We're not even accountants, but we own an accounting business. So people come to us like, man, how do you guys do this or that, right? And so we give them our expertise. You have it. I would.
Have you ever
get that out there?
Have you ever ran ads or anything like that on an Instagram account?
I didn't even mention this. I took a 3-month course online. Have you heard of Ty Lopez?
Yeah.
So I took a social media marketing course.
Was it good?
I learned a lot from it, but it's hard to apply all that. I actually signed a client, a car dealership, Team D Auto Sales.
Right.
And, I didn't really like it. So I would do targeted ads and stuff.
So that was
make
more
videos.
Facebook stuff, though.
Facebook.
He sells a course on how to become a social media agency. Is that the one you bought?
Yeah, the SMMA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I mean, dude, that's cool. You learn some stuff out of it.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you spend on the course?
It was $500.
That's my point.
Yeah.
There's people listening right now that won't even spend $500 on a course, and they're like 30,
really
40, 50 years old.
It paid off like within the month. I signed my first client. I made.
Well, there has to be action behind it, and you do both.
Yeah.
Because
you pay to play so that you can learn the information that you want to learn. The reality is even though you're not doing it now, you're still a better person because of going through that experience, paying, gaining knowledge. Maybe it's not your thing, cool, but you shot your shot, right? But now you know. The problem is most people don't even take the shot, so they don't ever know. But you will you tell me right now that you regretted making that decision in terms?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean,
isn't that weird?
It's hands down. You got to always be learning, and that's the one thing you got to invest in is in yourself.
God, I wish I was as smart as you at your age. I'd probably be a billionaire. You're probably smarter than me. Like legit.
Nah.
Like no, for real.
He's a sharp kid.
No, I guarantee.
I'm glad you reached out.
Yeah, business-wise, maybe you haven't gone through as much of experiences. But
to other high school kids, dude, you're leaps and bounds ahead. You should be
far ahead.
Attracting them right now to follow you because you have a lot to give them. And in the long run, dude, who knows? Maybe you have a freaking agency on marketing one day and you could teach all these kids that followed you nationwide, worldwide, right?
You have your own program.
That you got your own courses you create that actually give real value and you make a crap load of money off of.
Yeah.
So those are just ideas. But one thing that I will tell you is, be willing to, dip into your profits and run ads and get your message out there, especially people like that you want to attract. But dude, be consistent, man. Like you already have 16 podcast episodes and, drop one a month, commit to one a month or one a week or whatever your schedule allows you to do, and just be dedicated to that. And X amount of posts per day or per month or whatever on your social media channels. And I don't know what's going to be the best social media channel 5 years from now. It might be TikTok or whatever, but we know YouTube's not going anywhere. We know Facebook's not going anywhere. We know Instagram's not going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah. I'd be hitting those channels, and then I'd be getting on some of the ones that are up and coming, like TikTok as well.
So I tried to mess around with Facebook a little bit. I didn't like Facebook as much, and I've told Cal that. There are far more haters on Facebook for some reason. When I would run ads, that was just the truth. So. But if you did come up so your podcast name's Psychology of Success, is that available on Instagram?
I haven't looked. Okay. I should do that today.
You see what I'm saying? So you create an Instagram account that matches your podcast name. It's going to be available. Now it might not be available all in one word. It might have to be psychology _of _success. And then whatever your baseball jersey number is at the end, or whatever, right? You'll just have to mess around with it a little bit. But I wouldn't run it under your name, Kaden Terry. I'd run it under Psychology of Success so that it matches the Real Business Owners podcast. We have a Real Business Owners Instagram. We have a Real Business Owners YouTube. We have a Real Business Owners Facebook page. See what I'm saying? It's all matching up. Last thing you want to do is try to promote something under Kaden Terry, but yet your podcast is under a completely different name. So you're going to want to try to brand that podcast. Okay. I would figure out a way to find that on Instagram. Get that handle. Again, you'd have to play with underscores and maybe Psychology of Success number 12, just the number 12 after or number 1 or whatever you want to do, and then do exactly what Kel said. When you make a post, boost it for like $50 for that week, and then get a few followers. The haters will come out, dude. You are young. That's the only thing I would be concerned is because the haters came out for us, right? We're a little bit older. We can take it, but it still stings and it still hurts, even though we are older and we have maybe thicker skin. So that's the only thing that I would say be prepared for because, God, there's a lot of depressed people out there in the world. And
just want to drag you down. But
they'll try to do that. But that's a great point of what Kel said. You can start branding a name under Psychology of Success, utilizing clips from your podcast that you then take over to Instagram or Facebook or however you want to do it, and then you promote it for $50 or $100 kind of here and there. Then you grow a following there because there's just more eyeballs on Instagram, and then you just redirect that attention back to the podcast, which is ultimately where you got the clips from anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you do video editing yourself or anything a little bit?
I haven't. I haven't even thought about filming before doing that, but
you need to.
Jump on YouTube, jump on, even just your camera roll, make some videos, put them on YouTube, put them on Instagram, share them, boost them, inspire people, man. It will turn into more opportunity for you.
And then when you do boost it, I would just boost it again if you're trying to target people your age, or if, again, maybe you rebrand and you get rid of Psychology of Success. I don't know. And then you do High School Hustlers or whatever it is.
It's taken, but it's some dude had 2 posts back in 2016. Maybe you message him and be like, dude, I want your name. Give you $50.
We tried that on some. I don't remember what it was.
That's true. Yeah, just reach out to him.
But my only concern with that is it seems like it could be limited because you're not going to be in high school forever.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean?
You have to grind it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be my only concern is we're not thinking long term if we say High School Hustlers. But, old Cardone has whatever Young Hustlers or whatever it's called, right? And so at the end of the day, you could play with some sort of name that you think could last for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, a name that you think would be cool if you wanted to create your own course to sell to high school kids on how to start hustling and making that extra side money or whatever it is. Like, there's a whole bunch of opportunity for you based upon what you already know and what you've already gone through. And you'll be more relatable to them and more approachable to them, maybe rather than them reaching out to guys like us. They might feel intimidated. Even I still get messages when I reply back to them, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys replied. So they almost think that they're just sending a message that's not going to be seen, right? But the reason why we resonate with so many people is because they're like, dude, I like you guys. Like, you guys are just the type of people that I'd like to hang out with. Like, I resonate better with you guys. So young people will resonate more so with you than probably a 50-year-old, right? And so you can utilize that target audience to really monetize and make money off of if you did create a mini $250 course on how to start a podcast, how to, get social media going on Instagram and boost ads and this and that or whatever, if that's something that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No,
I've never even thought about going into that avenue with podcasting. So yeah, that's
might turn into something for you, man.
Oh yeah, plenty of opportunities.
Yeah,
so.
That's good.
Yeah.
What other questions you got for us, bro? Your last ones that you ask everybody.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do those already?
I don't know. I'm just asking him. I'm like,
do you guys have time to just?
Yeah, let's. Go ahead.
We want you to ask whatever you want to ask.
Ask whatever you want, because I'm guessing even people that are listening right now will whether it's on the Real Business Owner side or on your side of the Psychology of Success podcast, both parties will be able to benefit from it. So
absolutely. So, what are your guys' building blocks for success?
Doing, being not scared to lose money. Like, even though it is scary, we just spend money. That's our last podcast was called Pay to Play. The problem is once money starts, everybody wants to make money, but nobody's willing to spend. Mm-hmm. They all want to figure out how to make the most by spending the least. Yeah. Right? And so we're good at just we throw large amounts of money around. Yeah. And the more money that we've thrown around, the funny thing is the more money's came back to us.
Yeah.
Really, you know, it just keeps moving. Yeah.
We aren't really afraid to lose. We don't want to fail.
Yeah.
We don't like failing, but we're not afraid to lose, you know, like money. We're willing to test things and try things. And then, dude, we're opportunists, man. Like everything's uncomfortable at first, you know, but I was thinking about it actually not too long ago. I'm like, man, it's like one thing that I'm really good at is even if I'm really bad at something, I'm not afraid to try it. Or even if I'm afraid, I'm not afraid to just push through the fear and do it.
I honestly think the reason that is, though, is because we've been in the game long enough and we understand that even if we do fail at something, that there will still be lots of value in it. Mm-hmm. We will pull something or extract a lesson from that will serve us forever. Now, if it was a $20,000 lesson, then it was a $20,000 lesson, right? We lost that money, then cool. Now we chalk it up. We know what not to do in that scenario. If we didn't have all the failures that we've had and all the money that we've lost, we wouldn't have all the money that we've made. You see what I'm saying? So when you have hindsight like that, you can move a little bit more freely and throw money around a little bit more freely because either it's going to make you money or you're going to get a lesson out of it.
I think another big building block for me personally is having a purpose larger than just you. You know what I mean? Like, dude, my purpose is I want to give the most I possibly can to my family, and not give to them like monetary. I want to give them wisdom. I want to give them, lessons that they can take and go succeed in their life. And, you know, like I want to build a life of abundance, but I want to teach them how to go get their life of abundance as well. And so being an example to my family and people around me and people that follow us, like that is bigger to me than what I have in the bank account right now and what I will have in the bank account from 10 years from now. Like you have to have I feel like a purpose bigger than just what you want. Like we talked the other day, we're like, dude, like we want to have our own private jet one day, right? Mm-hmm. And we will. I really think we will have that. But I want to impact people, like especially my loved ones, the ones close to me, and that's bigger to me than having a private jet. Now, I feel like you can have both. Yeah. But you do got to have something that drives you bigger than just your monetary goals. Mm-hmm. You know, like you said, I want to have 100,000, and I want to figure out how I can serve other people with that, and I think that's cool. You know what I mean? So find that purpose bigger than you is a building block. I feel like that's really helped propel me the last few years, especially.
Mm-hmm. And I would say culture. Mm-hmm. I would say, you know what I mean? The problem is most entrepreneurs focus on themselves and how much money that they could ultimately make at the expense of their employees, right? So we do a great job of rewarding employees when they do a great job of whatever it is that they do in the company.
What are some things you do to reward them?
Well, there's over $6,000 in watches sitting on my desk right now that Kale bought, so
once in our sales departments, once they hit $1 million in sales in a 1 year time frame, they get to be in the elite club, and the elite club comes with a high-end watch, right? We've bought a Rolex, a couple Breitlings. We get them a plaque. We hang it up on the wall. And then guess what? That motivates the other guys that come in. Like, dude, I want to be in the club like Kaysen and Buddy and you know what I mean? But then we also do company outings and activities. We bring everybody together. But to make a point, though, on building culture, before you can build culture, you got to actually have people come work for you. You know what I mean? And so that's another good thing to focus on, too, is like you can't do it alone a lot of times, depending on what you want to do, right? Like you got to have a team behind you, and so getting people around you is another big building block. We couldn't sit here and do all the accounting and taxes and payroll and bookkeeping and stuff that we do for our clients if we didn't have our team to begin with, right? So build a team, build people around you, and then focus on culture is a big one.
Yeah.
Is it hard not going and micromanaging your employees, or do you?
Hell yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, you learn from experience on that one.
What have you guys learned about that?
It don't work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like one thing I've learned from Trev is you do got to face problems head on. Like you can't avoid, right? So you don't have to micromanage people. You can give them, in fact, we actually have a company we've hired to help us with scaling. And, that's a big thing is define your systems and processes and your expectations, but you don't got to stand on your shoulder and crack the whip on them all day to get it done. They know their expectations. Build the culture around those expectations. But when you do find people that are slacking or becoming a cancer or whatever, like, you do got to face that problem head on, you know. And so a lot of times people can think like, oh, you're a micromanager because you're all up in my grill. No, man, I'm just facing a problem head on so that you get the most out of this as well, right? So you kind of got to look at what's, you know, best for them, right? Like, you don't. Trevor's really good at this. So a lot of times people, they feel like you're coming after them, and it's really actually best for them to call them out too, so that they can grow as a person as well, you know. And so and that's not really micromanaging, but people can kind of misconstrue that as micromanaging. You got to give them parameters, structure, but then you do got to face those problems head on as well. And
there's a difference between micromanaging and creating relationships. When I micromanaged, I had high turnover. I was constantly having to hire more and more employees because people didn't like to be micromanaged. When I learned that lesson in terms of actually building a relationship and creating equity in the relationship, and what that basically means is I build you up first before I tear you down, right? If all I did is tear you down, it's not going to hit where it needs to hit. But if I say, dude, Kaden, you're a kick-ass employee, you do this, and this great, but here's what you don't do great. See how I built the equity there to where then I can take the withdrawal. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So you have to give, and then when it's time to take, you could take because there's enough there to take. The problem is most people don't give anything, and then they wait. They don't praise when it's time to praise, but when it's time to get upset, they get upset. There's no equity there. You haven't built that person up, so all you're doing, that's negative equity. Now they hate where they work and they feel micromanaged because they're never being told of the things that they're doing wonderful as well. So if you're going to do one, you've got to do the other, or else it just doesn't work.
Sure.
You got to realize too, like, when you're micromanaging people, you yourself are becoming less productive, right? And so if you're standing over someone's shoulder all the day, because like a lot of our companies, we work on the phone, on the sales and on the fulfillment side of our company. So if we're like standing over someone's shoulder all day, like, dude, why aren't you dialing right now? Or why aren't you at this many dials already? Or, you know what I mean? You're wasting your own time that you could be doing more productive stuff, like bringing more business into the company. And so, you know, we've had to have those realizations over the years of like, man, we just need to set parameters. The people that go above and beyond are going to continue to rise and become leaders within the company. And the people that do just the minimum to get by are going to always just get by. And, you know, you kind of have to understand who your A, B, C, and D players are. And then you got to set the structure and you got to let them kind of work within their environment. The cream will rise to the top. So you don't need to micromanage them. You just need to give them the structure.
For sure. Yeah. That's great. If we could hop in a time machine right now and you could go to any time in your life and tell yourself anything, where would you go and what would you say?
You know what, man? I would go back to when I was 17. I was sitting in a bathtub crying. I had a girlfriend who was pregnant in high school. I had a staph infection in my throat. I had a broken arm, so I couldn't even bathe myself. My freaking mom at 17 years old was having to freaking sponge bath me, dude. I was injured, sicker than a dog. And I just thought, man, like, life is going to be shitty. You know what I mean? Like, this is literally, I should say poopy.
Yeah.
We got a
yeah.
We got a young.
He might not want this to be a hybrid podcast with his listeners. You know.
No.
Yeah, that's all good.
Anyway, dude, I had this mindset of like, man, life's gonna be crummy, and I wish I could go back and tell myself, dude, this child that you're about to have is gonna be so huge for you. Like, he's gonna be a huge part of your why. And I wish I could tell myself back then to have more of an open mind. Start reading books. Like, you're reading Rich Dad Poor Dad at 13 years old. Man, I wish I would have done that at 17 years old when I was like literally thinking life is against me, and I was thinking life is happening to me instead of for me. Like, we hear that all the time, and it's so true, man. I wish I could understand that at a younger age, like you have figured out right now, because I would already be so much further along, not just monetary and money wise, but as a father, as a person, you know what I mean, as a business owner, as an employer, you know what I mean? I think I would have a lot more figured out if I would have figured that out younger. And there's a lot of things I wouldn't change, man. I mean, I'm here where I'm at now because of the trials and errors that I've went through, but if I could figure out sooner how powerful it would be to educate myself and to wrap my mind around being more open. You know what I mean? I think that I'd be way further ahead. So
That's great.
that was kind of a big moment in my life. You know, I just thought life was. I remember thinking life just isn't going to be good for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't know Kaden was going to change my life, my son, my Kaden. You know, like he did, but I wish I would have figured out sooner how powerful self-education, self-development, and being open would have served me. You know, so I wish I figured that out sooner.
It's a good answer.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like it. Probably when I was, I don't know, 12 or 13, somewhere around there, when my old cousin came over and said, hey, let's try this weed thing, you know? And so I tried smoking weed at the age of like 12 or 13, you know, and that derailed a lot of things for me in my life in terms of, you know, I took baseball very seriously up to that point, right? And so started hanging around the wrong people, the wrong crowd, didn't take school seriously, quit on every sport that I ever loved. I wouldn't have done that. You know, I would have, and I'm grateful for the experiences that I've had, right? Because there's been a lot of lessons inside of those experiences, but I feel like I did miss out on middle school and high school and miss out on my full potential because I decided to, you know, make a bad choice and continued to make that bad choice after year after year after year, which ultimately led me to try to take the easy route, you know, all through middle school and not take school seriously. You know, failed a tremendous amount of classes, didn't graduate with my class on time, you know, had to take a bunch of packets after the fact in order to get my diploma. I was good at baseball, but I didn't see how far it could take me because I started making the wrong decision and hanging out with the wrong people. But again, I am where I am, and I'm grateful for every experience that I've had. But, you know, I really wish that I would have been more disciplined and doubled down on sports because of the lessons that sports has the ability to teach kids in terms of discipline, in terms of drive and hunger, and outworking the next guy ultimately means that you'll see the benefit a year or 2 years. You can outwork me today, but we're going to still be the same ball player tomorrow. But you continue to outwork me day after day. In 2 years or 3 years, it'll start showing up on the field, right? And so,
absolutely.
Dang, man, that gave me chills, bro, because, like, I can think of so many times in those high school days that you went with what the crowd was doing and not thinking about the recourses. And
I didn't apply myself at all.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I was you, you know, at your age, reading books, like Kale said, how he ended it. Reading books, taking shit very seriously, you know, because you're getting a large head start on everybody in your class right now. You can look around, walk up and down the halls. There's people. The only reason why they're thinking about money is they just want $10 or $20 from mom or dad. They're not thinking about money in terms of how can I start a business and change my life and serve other people. Like, you're light years ahead of anybody that you go to school with. That I guarantee you. I just wish I would have took school more seriously and took sports more seriously growing up, because I think that you know, I am who I am, and I would have still had that same hunger and drive in terms of mentality of wanting to start a business at one point. It wouldn't have taken me, you know, 26 or 7 years to finally get to that point, right? So that's my answer, is I would have put the apple with weed in it down. You know, because that's how you start, you know, is something stupid like that. So I would have told my cousin to buzz off, you know, when he asked me if I wanted to try it. Yeah. And I said no initially. He's like, "You've never been curious? You don't know?" You know, I'm like, "I guess I am curious," you know, like, he's like, "Let's go." So we did. So, but, you know, there's a lot of kids that, luckily for me, I was able to turn my life around and get some things figured out. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people that can't. You know what I mean? And so hopefully there's, you know, at least one kid or somebody listening that, you know, when they get presented that opportunity to do something that they probably shouldn't be doing, hopefully they turn it down, you know, knowing that there's far more potential inside of them than just going to hang out with some loser, you know? So, anyways.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys being open.
Yeah.
Sharing those stories. So, of
course,
those will impact a lot of people listening. So,
yeah, hopefully.
Appreciate it.
You know, hopefully. So,
and then last question. You can prescribe anything to the entire, let me read the question from my notes.
Yeah.
You can prescribe anything to the entire world, and they have to do it for 30 days. What do you tell them to do?
That's easy.
Go.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear yours.
Listen to the Real Business Owners podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I like
for 30 days straight.
I like it.
No, I honestly believe that, you know, based upon the messages that we've received, it's reframed a lot of people's minds. The problem is mine and Kale's mindset is our mindset, so we don't think it's anything special, right? Like, but there's people so far beneath us in terms of mindset and their mentality that we're pulling them up to a new level, right? Just the way that we think, the way that we speak, the way that we talk, the way that we run our businesses, we're helping other people level up. But, you know, it's and I haven't taken the time to sit back and look at it like this until this moment, but you know, we purposely listen and surround ourselves with people that make us want to level up and do better, right? And so the power of surrounding yourself with the right people or listening to the right information, whether it's reading books or listening to podcasts or whatever it is, there's anything that goes into the mind is far more powerful than what people realize. And so people need to watch what they're feeding their mind. And if they feed their mind something powerful every single day for 30 days straight, they'll start to think different. If they think different, they're going to start acting different. If they start acting different, they're going to have a different outcome on their life. And my guess is it's going to be more of a positive outcome that they've never seen before. So what would I tell them to do? Listen to something that's positive, like the Real Business Owners podcast, every single day for 30 days. And if that doesn't reframe your mind, then you probably just don't have drive or hunger. That's just the truth. So
absolutely.
And that's just a little plug too. You know? So.
Man, you know, it's tough because there's a lot of things you could do, but I do believe in challenging yourself and taking on hard things. You know what I mean? So create a challenge that's going to be difficult. Like, people need more self-awareness so that they can overcome things. Like, we all tell ourselves a lot of excuses every single day of why we can't do things, when really we could figure out a way to do it, you know? So I would prescribe a challenge to some people, you know what I mean? A 30-day challenge that isn't easy. Like, I recently did 75 hard. Yep. We also created our own Prime Your Mind challenge, but create some sort of challenge in areas that you want to improve and stick to it. Right? No matter what, stick to it. Like, if it's raining outside, but you told yourself you were going to work out outside, go out and do it, you know? And you know, so I would structure some sort of challenge or take on a challenge to really help build that self-awareness and listen to the excuses you are telling yourself so that you can overcome those and build some more mental toughness, because that's what you're going to need to be successful. You're going to need to be self-aware of those things that you are talking yourself out of, you know, those excuses that you're buying into, and you do need to overcome those. And so, and it never ends, man. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, they set goals. Oh, if I could just make 100,000 a year, I'm set. And then you get to 100,000, you're barely getting by. You know what I mean? And then you get to 1 million, you're barely getting by. You're living, you know, to the max or whatever. And so, you know, you got to create challenges to build confidence and overcome things and to continue building that confidence. But you always got to set new goals, because you're never going to arrive to some point in your life where you're like, I've made it. I can just sit back and chill now. Because then you're just going to start dying. You know what I mean? You've got to always figure out, where can I push myself a little bit more in order to feel fulfillment. And so I don't really have a challenge to tell people to take on, but find one and take it on. Do a 30-day challenge that's actually hard, and keep the promise to yourself and see it through from start to finish. So
create some non-negotiables, basically.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do every single day for 30 days.
Yeah. And too many people have to get to a point where they just can't tolerate their life anymore to do it. But you don't have to wait for that point. You know what I mean? And the more challenges you take on and see through, the more confidence you give yourself to take on bigger challenges and reach bigger goals. So I don't know. I guess that's my long answer.
That's good.
The long short of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of our podcast, I don't know if you have anything special you do at the end of your podcast, but we read a review of an individual that left us, 5 stars. I mean,
highlight some of the people who leave us reviews.
Yeah. Trying to show love back in terms of them, taking time out of their day to drop a review. So this is the subject on this was life-saving podcast. It's 5-star review. These podcasts have given me drive to succeed in my business through the tough times and the good. Started listening in January 2020, which is last month, and I've listened to all the podcast episodes. Not all apply to me because I'm not at that level, but the ones that do, they resonate with me, and I will continue to get a lot from these and continue to listen. And that was from Latino Business.
Nice.
So we appreciate you guys leaving reviews, or the ones that do leave reviews. There's 175 reviews, but we have thousands of listeners. So I know a lot of you guys that are hearing this right now are guilty of slacking and not giving us a damn review. So the least that you could do is, there's a thing that has stars. Just go to the far one that says 5 stars. Click that. And leave us a review. Tell a family member, friend, somebody that could benefit from it, because I guarantee if you benefited from it, somebody can benefit from it. And just like I told you in that last response, the information that you digest or the information that you're listening to will have an impact on your thoughts and will have an impact on your actions and ultimately have an impact on your life. So
I'd like to say though, are you wrapping up?
Yeah, no.
I'd like to say, you guys, we wanted to do this podcast today because, going back to our episode where we said we don't buy it, everybody has these excuses of why they can't be doing something to better their lives. And so I thought it was really cool for Kaden to come on today, reach out to us. He reached out to us, asked to be on his podcast. That takes guts. You guys, we wanted to bring him on our podcast as well so that you guys could see,
what a young
there is
hustler
no excuses,
looks like.
man.
Yeah.
This kid has guts, and you guys can learn from him. Go check out his podcast, Psychology of Success. I've actually listened to an episode before you even reached out to me a while ago.
Really?
Yeah. So I saw that Lance on your baseball team shared your podcast on Facebook, and he was like, "Hey, go listen to this stud Kaden. He's got his own podcast." And I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna check that out." So I actually listened to one of your episodes with the Dixie College basketball coach. I listened to that, and I was like, "Dude, that's so cool that he's putting himself out there." Here we are, a year later, because this was during baseball season last year. Almost a year later. And you're on our podcast, and I just think that's cool, man. You're doing things, and you guys can learn from people doing it, no matter what level they're at. This kid's in high school, and he's already building something, and it's cool. You're very wise too, man. So I know you're gonna bring a lot of value to our audience.
Vision boards and all sorts of stuff in his room,
man.
and
I didn't figure that out until my 30s, man.
Good. I still don't have it figured out, so I might hire you as a mentor. Yeah. Since we talk about coaching and mentoring so much,
But you guys should go check him out, man. There's a lot to learn from.
Where do they find you, dude? Is it just the Psychology of Success podcast?
Yep, Psychology of Success podcast, and I'll create an Instagram account today, actually.
Okay.
And
what we'll do is you let us know what it is, and when this episode drops, we'll put it in the description.
Perfect.
Okay. Of the episode. So
we'll send you a little clip too. We'll text you a clip.
That can be your first post, dude.
Of our podcast that you coming on today, where you can post it onto your social media channels or wherever you want. So, but dude, I really appreciate you coming on today, and you're just an impressive young man, dude. I'm excited to see what future has for you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, don't forget about us, dude, when you're our age and worth billions. When we knock on your door.
Invite us back on your podcast.
Exactly.
In 8-10 years from now.
When we knock on your door asking for a few crumbs, just drop us some crumbs,
No,
So
I'll come take a ride on your jet, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, we're going to get there.
Yeah, we'll have that within the next 2 years or so. So, guys,
we'll still be driving our Toyotas, but we'll be driving a jet.
Hell yeah. I don't give a shit.
I actually said that to someone not too long ago. I was like,
my truck's been paid off for 7 years.
If I'm still driving a Toyota, but we got a jet in the hangar.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm good with it. I don't give a shit. I'd rather have a jet than a Ferrari.
It's a tool.
Oh, yeah.
So, the jet will make us far more money than the Ferrari or something else will. So, guys, if you enjoyed the episode, like I said, make sure you leave a review, share it with a family member, friend, somebody else that can get value out of it. And as always, guys, hope you have an awesome day.